Okay, thank you. We're going to return to the business portion of the meeting. For those watching at home, we just did a tenure reception for some amazing new staff members who achieved that pinnacle right now in their professional career with the district. We want to congratulate them again. We're going to move right now. We've already opened with the pledge previously, and we're going to go to the recognition of outstanding student achievement.
Turn it over to you, Ms. Gerson.
We'd like to recognize the students who were part of Virtual Enterprise and advanced to the final round of competitions. So we'll start with our National QuickBooks competition. For the students of Virtual Enterprise National QuickBooks competition, we have Michael Joseph. Guo Jini. Amar Patel. Noah Tesh. Gavin Lee. Shristi Nigam. Nicholas Papalardo. And Sartaj Singh. Don't go away just yet. We have the national championship round of the oral business plan presentation competition. For those, we have Jocelyn Chu, Connie Wang, who's not here tonight, Carolyn Lau, Lauren Louie, Joshua Park, and Lauren Tran. And I would be remiss if I didn't announce Liam, who is their coach and teacher. Joan Keegan, is Joan still? Joan Keegan. Sorry, Ms. Keegan, so you deliberately hide it. Come, please, come forward.
Come on down. All right, let's give it up for our award winners one more time. Wait, the board. Congratulations.
Okay, we're going to continue our meeting. We're going to go to announcements and correspondence. Brian?
Been quite 2 weeks. I can't
Nancy?
I don't have anything to announce right now.
Henry?
Yeah, just a couple things. I just want to mention that the music department made their trip this year to Hershey Park for the Music in the Parks Festival, and also to have some fun. And they had a lot of success. The chorus and band both came in, I think second in their groups, and the orchestra came in first and first overall. So nice outing for them, and they managed to avoid a lot of the rain that here on Long Island. And I'd also like to give a shout out to. I'd also like to give a shout out to our favorite administrative assistant, Betty Ann Montano, and her. Professionals Day, so thank you, as always. And that's it.
Okay. Dr. Sinesh, you want to call the admin team?
Sure, I'll turn it over to Dina, who did a lot to prepare for so many things this week. It's been a very busy weekend.
We're just preparing for the 23-24 school year. A lot of committees are going on, and we're just looking forward to finishing out the 22-23 and getting ready for 23-24.
Thank you. Liz Gerson. Lisa, do you have anything you'd like to share down there?
No.
Yes, it's going to be today's the budget hearing. It's going to be fun, people. Hold on to your seats. Yes. Ethel, Julia, do you have anything you would like to share with us as our student reps here?
This week and next week.
And the DTC showcase will be
Thank you very much. Okay, so I have a quick few things to share. I want to acknowledge, as Julia just mentioned, there are a bunch of AP exams going on at the high school, so good luck to all of our high school students who are engaging in those assessments, and to our teachers who prepared them for those advanced placement tests. Kudos to all of you. The last couple of weeks I've had an opportunity to visit all of our elementary schools. We got to watch shelters being built at Searingtown and some line dancing at Center Street, and a lot of great things happening at elementary school. So much fun. We also, Lisa and I, got to do the tour of a number of meetings to do the budget presentation for different groups, elementary families, senior citizens. It's been really quite busy but fun couple of weeks. The Greek club from the high school invited me to their Greek Independence Day celebration, which was awesome. They had a lot of good food, a lot of good music, and a lot of dancing. It was a great event to be a part of. Just a reminder that the budget vote is happening on May 16th. You're going to hear about that in a little bit. As Henry shared, we did celebrate Administrative Professionals Assistant Day, and Betty Ann is someone who I get to work with every day, and I'm incredibly grateful. But we have a team across the district office at the building levels who work diligently to make sure our schools can open and run every day for our kids. So I thank you for all of your hard work. And coming up next week, we have Teacher Appreciation Week. It starts on Monday. So if you have a teacher in your life that you care for, maybe send them a little note. Thank them for all of their hard work. And also next week is National School Nurse Day, which is May 6th. We have a wonderful team of nurses here in Herrick, so congratulations to them too. That's a Wednesday. It's just good stuff. It's May. Summer's coming. It's good. So thank you for letting me share the update.
And tomorrow is National School Lunch Hero Day.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
Do you have a cape? Do you wear a cape to work?
I do. I'm not going to go any further with what else I'm doing. But it's the day that they recognize all the cafeteria workers who serve wholesome, nutritious meals to our students every day in whatever capacity that they do. And it's a nationwide event. And I just want to congratulate the entire team here at the Herrick School District and all the cafeteria workers and all they do for our kids. The cafeteria is a place of refuge for them, and it's probably except for Jim, probably the funnest place to be at. And no one should ever cry over a meal, unless you're in my house and I've cooked it. And it's just important to know that what they do for our kids, the wholesomeness that they provide, provides them fuel for their brains to be able to function for the entire day. So it's a great thing, and I want to pay tribute to those workers as well. Okay. Seeing, we're going to move forward. We have questions or comments from the public. This is the time period designed for the public to address the board. Please limit your questions or comments to 3 minutes per person. Guidelines include the following. The Board of Education will listen to comments and input from the public. Debate between members of the audience and/or board members is inappropriate and will not be permitted. The Board of Education is not permitted to address personnel or individual student matters in public session. Operational matters should be directed to the school administration for handling. The person posing a question or comment should come to the microphone and state their name. Only residents and employees of the district may pose questions or comments from the public. Any questions or comments from the public at this time? Ms. Dodge, could you come to the microphone, please? They can't hear you.
Oh, really?
Is this better?
Yes.
Fabulous.
I have been asked to read a statement for you from Madeline Svitak. She can't be here tonight. So she is Madeline Svitak, president of district council, could not be here this evening, but she wanted to thank the community members that attended the Meet Candidates Forum last night. It was a very informative evening, and all efforts were made to accommodate all the candidates running for the Board of Education trustee. And we were pleased that Jim Ganaris and Henry Zanetti were able to attend. Herrick's District Council encourages everyone to come out and vote on May 16th. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madeline, wherever you are. Any other questions or comments from the board? Mr. Ratra?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ravi Ratra. I have a question. Number one question I have, how much money you guys have in cash result of the rain?
Okay.
Yeah, result you have, how much you have?
So do you want an approximate figure or you want the actual to the penny?
No, I don't need.
Lisa, do you even have that figure with you?
So we have the required, or not required, the allowable 4% in our unassigned that's set aside in our reserves of the next year's budget. So that's how much we have in there. It's 4% of next year's budget.
About 4 million.
It's just under 5 million.
The reason I'm asking that question is because we are increasing our budget 7.5%. And the result is for that, and I know you had a court case where you are taking accounting for some liability. So that's why the cash result is for. Why not use that? Why you putting taxes on the resident, increase their taxes? That's one question. Second question I have related is this calculation is based upon entire budget, recurring expenses and one-time expenses. We want to see what the increase is between the recurring expenses for last year versus proposed. That's a real increase. So one-time expenses, one-time expense. You don't incur any increase on that. So I want to know what is the increase on the recurring expenses between last year what was proposed versus this year what is proposed. That's the real number. You want to know that number.
Okay. We'll have them send you that
And
information
make
tomorrow.
it public to everyone, so everybody will know.
There is information, Mr. Rocha, that is available online that provides a line-by-line breakdown.
I'm asking somebody, like you have somebody here, I would like to see the summary of increase of recurring expenses.
I understand.
Last year on this proposed budget.
Okay, so we'll have them get it back to you tomorrow, and then at the next, tomorrow or the next day, and then we'll have, what?
No,
No,
next
well, she'll,
Excuse me, I did ask the same thing on April 4th meeting.
okay, I believe at the April 4th meeting, the superintendent said it was available online for you, a line-by-line version. But I tell you what we'll do, you have an excellent working relationship with the assistant superintendent for business, and I'm gonna have we'll have Lisa reach out to you in the next couple of days, gather the data and send it to you. And that way you can have a conversation with her about it, make sure it is specifically what you want. That way we make sure we get you what you want. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, we're gonna move forward, please. I'd like to move Roman numeral 8, letters A through F, please.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Going to move to Roman numeral 9 right now, the budget hearing on the 2023-2024 general budget.
Okay, who has that? Sorry, wrong glasses. Who has the clicker? You have the clicker? You have it right there. I'm right there. I'm right there. Thank you very much. I'm going to stand over here. It's a little tight over there, a little chubby. So we have a budget presentation. It's a budget hearing. It's just an overview of the budget that has already been adopted. It is the budget that is going to be up for vote on, on May 16th. So anytime we think about the budget, we start with our mission statement to make sure that whatever we propose to be added to the budget for the following year, it is in line with the mission statement of the district. You can read that. It's available on our website. We also think about the core values that Dina mentioned earlier. We think about how those things inform and drive our decision making. And so you see things like trust, creativity, respect, integrity, and so on. We also use this year our collective why that we developed with the leadership team during our retreat last summer to think about why it is we do what we do. So what is our collective why? This is our collective why statement. It has very much guided our process this year. And just so you can hear it, our why is to create opportunities that encourage individuals to realize and actualize their best selves in an environment where they feel seen, safe, and comfortable. Students will be empowered to become joyful, positive, and productive members of society. Every decision that's made, every recommendation that's made is to support this why. And here's our why in action. It's our kids, it's our faculty, it's our staff, it's our families. This is why we do everything that we do, and this is why we're proposing whatever we're proposing in the budget this year. Oops, sorry, skipped something. This is important. So the budget proposal for next year is a $1.8 million increase over the 22-23 tax levy. That is a 1.83%. Proposed budget to budget increase is $9.4 million, which is a 7.5% increase. If you take out the pending legal fees and potential settlements, it is about a 5.3 increase, which is very much in line with the majority of districts. Actually, there are about 30 districts that have increases that are higher than ours in terms of percentage budget to budget. And our average tax levy has been 1.54 over the last several years. So I'm going to turn it over to Lisa.
Yep, so this is just to share with the community and highlight that on the third Tuesday in May, when you go to vote, you're voting on the total expenditures, and 89% of our total expenditures are really geared towards maintaining our programs, as well as making sure our students continue to work in a safe and appropriate environment. So that's the 15% of our capital and 74% of our program. This really was in an effort to be transparent with the community and respecting that the budget to budget, the total expenditures was increasing quite substantially. in the 23-24 school year. We did, in an effort to be transparent, try to break down where that increase was. So the total expenditures is increasing 9 million, and we were trying to show that almost 80% of the budget is the increase is attributable to the claims, the associated legal, health insurance, which we are not immune to. All organizations, I think, are feeling that crunch with increase in premiums, as well as our contractual commitments. A lot of the other elements of our increase, again, we're not unique to Herrick's. We are seeing an increase in the need for supporting our special education students, the supports around that, maintaining our facilities, utilities, our debt with interest rates, textbooks, technology, all elements for our children to learn. And just on the note and the question for the community, for those that were listening tonight, that also I can respond to the one thing on the unassigned fund balance that we do have. While it is there for a rainy day right now, that estimate for claims is just an estimate. We are in, as the board wrote a few weeks ago or a few months ago in a newsletter, we are facing some challenges in the district that we're just trying to manage through, financially responsible. So that is an estimate, so that fund balance is there in the event that we need to dip into it.
The majority of our budget, Lisa, if I'm correct, is made up of recurring costs in the
Yes.
form of health insurance, in the form of payroll, and that is the most significant portion of the budget.
There's a lot of information contained on here. The main thing is we were very fortunate in going into the 23-24 school year. The budget has finally passed at the state level. I took a look at our run. There wasn't a substantial change in our state aid. It is pretty much maintained where it was in the original proposed budget. And for Herrick's, after our many years, this is my 7th year at Herrick's, and thanks to the efforts of our administration, our board, our community, our PTA, we were able to finally get back to being fully restored for state aid. If you look back over the last 7 years, at least since I've been here, Herrick's since about 2008 was underfunded each year by about $6 million. And you compound that over those years, that's a lot. So after much effort, we're finally back where we should be in 23-24.
And so what does the budget support? It supports all the incredible things our kids accomplish with the support of their teachers and their families. So you'll see we have a 98% graduation rate. We have 11 finalists in the National Merit Scholarship Competition. We have over 700 students taking AP exams. We have 94% of our classified students earning either a Regents Diploma or advanced designation. The list can go on and on, literally can go on and on for slides, because our kids accomplish so many incredible things in their time here in Herrick's. So what are we proposing to be added for next year? And this is something we've reviewed a number of times, so I thank you all for just indulging us one more time. So first and foremost, we are proposing an additional counselor at the high school, and that is primarily driven by an increase in enrollment and to redistribute the caseload that our counselors are currently carrying at the high school. That is a need. It's also something that would allow us to be more consistent with our neighboring districts. The other thing we're proposing is the addition of assistant principals at both Searingtown Elementary School and Center Street Elementary School. That also primarily is being driven by an increase in enrollment. So I think we have about 600 kids at Searingtown, about 570 at Center Street. Generally, the threshold in the region is about 500, leads to an assistant principal. So we're well above that threshold, but we're also looking at the needs of our students, of our families, of our faculty and staff, and we want to make sure that we can effectively support them. One of those additions is offset by a reorganization of the leadership team. So I just want to make sure that that's clear as well. We're also looking to maintain a lot of the things that already exist, right? Our partnership with Northwell Health, which has been a critical support for us this year for our students and families, various social emotional learning programs, our special ed continuum. We want to make sure that we support that, continue to enrich that as well. Our supports for multilingual language learners, what that means for their journey as they transition to our school district. And then textbooks, that's also like generally recurring costs. Every year there are new textbooks that are integrated into different curricular areas, different levels. We're also going to be doing technology upgrades. That's something that happens all the time too. So we have a one-to-one situation here, but those devices need to be replaced, need to be upgraded at times. So that's something we're looking to do using our Smart Schools Bond and other software and hardware. Also looking to always add to our musical instruments, replace them, our athletic equipment, which is also very important. You'll see that we are hoping to increase our athletic trainer from part-time to full-time. And we are looking to add additional coaches, which also in a couple of instances means additional sports potentially, one being girls flag football, an additional coach for track, let's say. So those are some of the proposed additions for next year. We're also going to be replacing our telephone system. So that's an example that's partly a one-time cost for the installation of that, but then there's recurring costs to support that over the years moving forward. We're also going to be upgrading our software for the transportation office, which will help us with routing and such. And facilities improvements will continue. One of the primary things we want to focus on next year is improving our auditorium here at the community center, which is used not only by community groups, but certainly by our school district as well. We're excited our elementary, do we call them graduations, moving up? I don't know what you call them. Fifth grade, they're going to be here. So next year, our auditorium will look even more beautiful to celebrate our fifth graders. But we're also going to be doing improvements at the building levels. Each elementary school cafeteria will be improved, various classroom improvements across the district. And we're looking to resurface 3 of our high school tennis courts. We talked about the community center, and we are fortunate that we have a self-sustaining food service program.
Back to me. So just as we gear up, please make sure you mark your calendar for the third Tuesday in May, May 16th. Voting for Herrick's is at the community center in the gymnasium. So I would encourage any of you here, as well as your neighbors, to park in the parking lot closest to the gym. The doors will be right there, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. But more importantly, leading up to that, May 11th is the last date to register to vote. So if you know anybody that's new to the community, they do need to be here for at least 30 days as a resident prior to the date of voting, but they can come to the second floor, room 205, and I can certainly register them to vote only in the school district elections. But we always encourage people, if you want to vote in all the other elections, to go to the Nassau County Board of Elections. So those are 2 key dates coming up. And just one other thing, actually tonight the board met with our internal auditors, and one of the areas that they had reviewed as we talk about budget, I do prepare most of the budget, but the internal auditors are usually piggybacking on what I'm doing and looking at our tax cap calculation, the revenue assumptions, doing some high level review just to give assurance to the community, but as well as to our board, just to have another lens on it to make sure that we're being fiscally responsible. So it's not the most exciting topic sometimes to me, but you have met all our auditors, our claims are internal and our external. So not always exciting, but we do it for these 2 wonderful people next to us. So please make sure you come out to vote and exercise your right.
May 16th, it's a Tuesday, not the Tuesday that's coming, but the one after that, 7 a.m. So those of you who are early risers, you can maybe go out for a run in the morning like I like to, and you'll run, vote, and go run and get a snack like I like to as well. And we are there till 9 p.m. So please don't forget, May 16th, it's incredibly important. I do want to thank Lisa for all of her hard work, and the development of this budget starts like July 1 the year before, right? So as soon as this is done, Lisa's already thinking about next year's budget, and I
We were
appreciate
already looking into the next 2 years.
We were already looking, and thanks to our colleagues, also to Liz and Dina, but also to a building level administrators and our directors for their input as well.
Questions?
Board members, any questions? No? Okay. Thank you.
I'm gonna stand here and thank someone.
Okay, we're going to move to the next item on the agenda. We are going to have a science curriculum review presentation by Ms. Diana DeGiorgio, Ms. Karen Hughes, and Ms. Diane McKay.
So if it's okay with you, I want to thank Diane and Karen and Diana for preparing a curriculum review for us. This is an annual experience here in Herrick's, and I'm very fortunate to inherit this. And Liz was a huge support in helping me understand the process. And science was the next area that was up. So we're very fortunate because, see, Diane McCabe thought she was going to retire and maybe not have to do this. No, I'm just kidding. She's actually very excited to do this. And she's also brought some of the work that our students at the middle school engage in as part of their science journey. And science it means a lot of things, and you're going to learn about that tonight. It covers a lot of areas and goes beyond just what's the thing called, the reference table? What's the periodic table and like atoms? Much deeper. Clearly, I didn't do well in chemistry. Anyway, that's okay. So they're going to provide you an overview. Okay, I'm making jokes. I'm just K-12 perspective on our science curriculum. So we're excited to hear and excited to share that. And our board is going to have to engage in an activity so they can understand what it means to be a scientist, a student scientist in Herrick. So
Okay, I'm Diane McCabe, for anyone who doesn't know me. And yes, I am retiring in 34 days. I know, after 33 years here, wonderful years here. I'm going to ask everyone sitting on the panel to please make your best paper airplane. Your best paper airplane.
If you have glasses, put them on, don't let anyone poke in the eye.
Okay, I'm gonna get started while they're creating their best paper airplanes.
Might take a while there.
Okay, if you take a look at this first slide. In April of 2013, the next generation science standards were officially released by the country, to the country. Back as early as 2010, New York State got all of the stakeholders together and reviewed these new standards and decided to make some adjustments and roll out their own set of new science standards. The most significant changes from the NGSS include the inclusion of performance expectations for students in pre-K. Those were not included in the next generation science standards. The breakdown of physical science into chemistry and physics, and they added additional performance expectations to various areas, and these are all highlighted in yellow when you view the live document. The new New York State P12 science learning standards were adopted by New York State in December of 2016 and implemented by New York State in July of 2017. The state hit the go button, basically. All right, these are the three dimensions of the framework for the New York State Peak 12 science learning standards. In this diagram, you can see that the new standards are structured around three major dimensions: the engineering practices in blue, the cross-cutting concepts in green, and in yellow are the key ideas of the three disciplinary areas of science: the physical sciences, the life sciences, and the earth and space science. Why is this major change necessary? Today's children are growing up in a world very different from the one we all grew up in, even as recently as 15 years ago. Changes in the labor market mean that we are living and working in a knowledge-based economy, one that demands advanced literacy in science, technology, engineering, and mathematical skills, whether for application in private or public sector jobs. Technology has eliminated many jobs while changing and creating others, especially those involving mathematical, conceptual reasoning. One characteristic of these fast-growing jobs is the employee needs to be able to solve unstructured problems while working with others in teams. The exponential growth in interactions and information sharing from around the world means that to process and communicate, analyze, and respond to the everyday across all settings. For a great number of jobs, conceptual reasoning and technical writing skills are an integral part of the daily routine. So now, if you were sitting in a sixth grade science classroom, this would show up on the smartboard, and this could lead to major discussion. What you've got here are two pictures. Can you guess what they are? And that's exactly what a sixth grade science teacher would say to their students. Do you know what these are pictures of? Anybody want to take a guess? Nope, not a cell. Nope. Okay. All right, the top picture here is the eye of a fly under magnification. And the green here is the green part of a $100 bill under magnification. All right, so this phenomena, which is the basis of the new standards of how to introduce, it's a new style of teaching. This is what a teacher does today. They introduce the phenomena, and it leads to children discussing. It leads to children interacting. It leads to children sharing their ideas. So that's where we're going.
So Diana's talked about the three-dimensional aspect of this. Part of the key thing that we need to worry about as instructors in the classroom is that the role of the teacher is now going to be different. Teacher is not necessarily just providing information, and Herrick's teachers have not been doing that for years. We've really been integrating quite a lot of skills into our classroom, but the teachers are now going to be allowing the students to design their own investigations, and the students will be formulating the questions that go along with that. They will be researching their answers, and the teacher actually is going to act as the facilitator in the classroom. And so while you do this, we're planning for individual lessons, but we're actually talking about activities and units that may take multiple days. So when we talk about a phenomenon, it may be a phenomenon that works for a day, but it may be a phenomenon that works for an entire unit. And that will change based on the level of instruction that we're actually giving. One key portion here that Herix is ahead of the game on is in terms of engineering practices. So on the elementary level, Project Lead the Way has really brought that into our classrooms for our elementary students. On the secondary level, the middle school, Diane has some aspects and things in front of her, so she'll talk a little while about the engineering aspect. And the high school is bringing that into the science classrooms as well as into the technology classes. And so we're talking about a real aspect of three-dimensional instruction that's happening. Core ideas. For anybody who was a student back in the 70s or 80s or early 90s, your teachers were provided with a syllabus by New York State. Then we moved to a core ideas. That's actually no longer going to be a written syllabus. So teachers will have this live document. It's a living document. All the links are live. Diane discussed the 3 colors that are there. And so teachers will be going through each of the actual learning standards that needs to be included within a given unit. And that starts in pre-K. And they're all labeled. So this is a good example of one of those. And they're referred to as DCIs, or disciplinary core ideas, that each of the courses are required to do. The other aspect of this that is very interesting is that disciplinary core ideas spiral through year after year after year within given subject areas. So the spiraling actually begins in pre-K or kindergarten. And then the other one that is most important to all of us as a community is cross-cutting concepts. And within the document, you will see links to algebra, to various mathematical skills, to English skills that are necessary, as well as historical components. So this is going to integrate multiple subject areas into the science classroom. This is the timeline that has been changed many times. Thank you, COVID. So it's been changed actually every single year, including up until this September. So as Diane said, we actually, New York State adopted this in 2017, began investigating, and they made key decisions about it in the very beginning of 2018, with integration having to start in 2019. That all sort of got halted. So right now we are looking at, for example, this 4th grade class did not take their science exam. They normally would take that. That will switch to 5th grade and 8th grade for next year. And then the Regents exams will start with Earth Science and Living Environment, which will no longer be Earth Science and Living Environment. There'll be Earth and Space Science, and we're going back to biology for those of us who are over 30. And those exams will start in June of 2025, and then physics and chemistry will be in 2026 as the Regents exams come through. And please understand that all of the state assessments are changing format and style. And those things in New York State are actually still being determined in many regards. So we are expecting that they will all be computer-based, and the elementary teachers had great success this week in finishing their testing computer-based. But we're expecting that the Regents exams are moving to be computer-based. But the style of testing is probably moving very much away from multiple choice questions.
So we remained flexible as that timeline changed, and they would tell us, this is your last year taking the test. No, just kidding. Next year, you're going to take it again. But the one thing that we started with and remained with was deep diving into the standards. The standards were, as we said, revised to include through pre-K. At the K-5 level, there are 4 main disciplines. We have physical science, life science, earth and space science, and engineering and technology. We took a deep dive into those standards to really get a handle on exactly what they were looking for us to teach. And then we wanted to look at how we were going to do that and where. As a district, across the 3 elementary schools, we were able to create a scope and sequence, laying out the units to coincide with other disciplines. So Karen mentioned it before about the connections with other disciplines. We have several units that marry nicely with a TC unit of study or a particular math unit. And so we revised our calendar, our pacing to align with that. And we also made sure that we did a crosswalk with all of our units to make sure that we're meeting those standards in multiple areas through multiple vehicles. Those include things from BOCES, ESP, teacher-made materials, and Project Lead the Way, as Karen mentioned. So what does this actually look like in an elementary classroom? Well, here are some pictures of a 1st grade class working. We are doing everything we can to make it fun and engaging. And as Diane mentioned, that students in the middle school are asking questions and having discussion. That's because, I'd like to say, we started having them do that in kindergarten. And so we use an APB model, which is an instructional approach. And essentially what we're looking for students to do is to gain knowledge and understanding of skills, which is then transferred as they solve open-ended problems. So in other words, instead of teaching them and asking them what we just taught them, or teaching them and showing them an experiment, we're giving them a concept and then letting them explore it through their own exploration of those skills and play and question. They're finding things out, like what adaptation might a bird need to get its food? And we'll have them put a marble in a bin and use a spork or use a paper clip and see, a clothespin and see what works best and why things don't work. Or how you build a shelter in nature and what that would look like, what materials, or how you would hide it from predators, things like that. This is our state assessment data. So this is really, we showed you what we teach, and this is how we're doing with it. And we're doing quite remarkable. So you can see over 98% of our students, when assessed, scored in level 3 or 4 proficiency on this exam. So we are really knocking it out of the park. And that's obviously high compared to the state, but it does exceed our regional comparative districts as well. So as you know, Karen mentioned that there is no longer going to be a 4th grade exam. Right now, we're on pause. Next year will be the first year that we test students in grade 5. That is a new exam. It's formatted differently. So we used to have a paper-based test, and then the students would do some experiments. No longer will they have it. What they're doing now is that the students will take their computer-based multiple choice questions, and then 15% of that information will actually come from something called investigations. This is new this year. The state rolled it out at both the elementary and the middle school level. Essentially, what we're required to do by next year is have students, this is just elementary level right now, complete these 4 investigations. 2 are in 3rd grade, 1 in 4th, and 1 in 5th. So we are starting with the ones that we need just to pace up so that next year's kids graduate out at 5th having completed all of these. And these are really what you would think of as like hands-on experiments that the children do and keep logbooks, and that rolls up with them as part of their record.
Okay, when I saw this slide, I said to myself, wow, this really embodies everything that we are talking about at the middle school. And when this slide goes live, at the bottom of this, you can see the New York State Middle School Science Learning Standards. They're all listed here with this live link here. Okay, this is where the cross-cutting comes in. This is the math, science, and ELA, and you can see it's color-coded. And where you see the intersections of all the disciplines and the gray in the middle is where all 3 intersect. So when we talk about using models, all right, that's where math and science really come into play. The development and use of these models, and I'll be describing what I've put out and what you were asked to build. All right, so this is our flow in the middle school. Our 6th graders start, New York State didn't tell us how to teach this. They kind of threw it out there and said, go ahead, figure it out for yourselves. So at the middle school, my department and I sat down and we worked really hard on this. Back in 2018, we really put our heads down and said, because our original test was supposed to be in June of 2021. That's when the first grade 8 assessment was supposed to be. And thank you, COVID, it's now next year. So when we sat down, we looked at all the middle school bands that we were presented with. Life science, the physical sciences, which is chemistry and physics, and earth and space science. We said to ourselves, how are we going to do this? So we decided to put life science in the 6th grade. And our children go through all of these are all the middle school bands of instruction. Grade 7, we do the physics and the chemistry. Half year physics, half a year chemistry, and then children can be accelerated into the Regents Earth Science program, or they can take the grade 8 Earth and Space Science. What we did realize is that when we finally took a look at what the new Regents curriculum was going to be, we had to take some of that Earth and Space because it is anticipated when the children take the new Regents, and that will be this year's 6th graders, that we have to put in some Earth and Space Science in grade 6 and grade 7. In September 2024, the New York State Earth and Space Science Regents curriculum will begin for the testing, and that Regents course will be the new accelerated course that will be taught in the middle school. This is an example of some of the work that our students are doing. We have, besides our core courses, we do have, thanks to the change in the schedule that was initiated back in 2021, we were allowed to add flex and electives to our programs. So in grade 6, we added medical detectives to our students, which is a grade 6 form of forensics. In grade 7, we do design engineering, which is the designs that you see sitting in front of you. This one design engineering class had to build, their challenge was to build a tower, most cost effective, the lightest, and could hold the most weight. So the tower that you see here was the winner. It held 20 pounds. It is made out of straws and tape. That is it. This weight was put on the top, and that was built by one of our design engineering classes. Now, I have to tell you, this is their third go-round to get this to stay together. So that's what design engineering is. You sketch it, you make a prototype, you make the prototype again, and then finally, you eventually come out with your final project. What you see at the other end of the table is a mechanical hand. That was done by our Gemini students. Gemini is part of the 7th grade curriculum, and we call that Gemini program STREAM. It is science, technology, research, engineering, art, and math. So what the students did with this project is it was for carpal tunnel syndrome. That was what the topic was. And they came up with mechanical hands. There's a paper hand sitting there also with strings on it. And that was the first thing they did. They had to create the paper hand and get the fingers to move. And how, where the muscle was, if that is affected, how it affects the movement in the hand. Then what they had to do was create a large-scale mechanical hand. Now, if I put my hand inside that, there is a mechanism where I can get that hand to move. So it's truly a mechanical hand. So this is what 7th grade students are doing. You can get it. Some of the lines have been, because all the kids were playing with it, so some of the lines have been affected. But this is one of the projects. In grade 8, we have electives. Students get to pick us from a series of electives when they reach 8th grade. The 2 science electives are energy and the environment, where they play with solar power, wind power, and build all devices and vehicles and things like that and see how far they can get it to move. And the other is our flight class, which is why you were asked to make paper airplanes. On the first day of the flight class, the students are given a piece of paper and they are asked to make their best paper airplane, exactly what I asked you to do. Now, we would like you to fly your paper airplanes.
Maybe we should go in this direction so we
Yeah.
don't get it. Yeah. My money's on this. Come on down. Does the winner get something?
What's the hand? Yeah.
All right, hold on. We're gonna let everyone get down here. Abdul, Julie, come with me. Yeah. Everyone has to launch from the same point, right?
Yes, you all have to launch from the same point.
Right up there so you can see.
You can all line up and go at the same time. Just try not to hit one another. Again, we do this in the hallways at the middle school.
That's why I'm wearing my safety belt. 1, 2, 3, go.
All right, so whoever got out here is our winner. Whoever this is our winner. And this is exactly,
How about the ones that went backward?
the ones that went backward, retrograde motion, that's good.
Go ahead, Captain. Let's see what you did as continuing.
This is exactly what happens in the classroom. Exactly. They're arguing with one another, who did it, who didn't.
Wait, I want to see the students.
Oh, the students.
Yes, because I have something to say. Go ahead. designed it on their land thing. This was my toy for 20 years, because I didn't get one from my father.
But imagine going into class and this is what you are asked to do. And from that step on, the development gets more and more engaging to the point where they are weighting them, coloring them, folding them up in different directions. It really is a phenomenal program that we have developed at the middle school. As far as state assessments are concerned, the grade 8 assessment, this is only from the 2021-2022 year. We had a test in 2021, but it really didn't count for anything. The data was basically invalid because you had to opt in to take that test instead of opting out. These are the results from last year. You have to understand that we had 135 students enrolled in grade 8 science. We had 41 opt-outs, meaning 31% of our students chose not to take this assessment. The blue indicates our school results, and we still did well, even with those results. These are our Earth Science Regents results. Again, COVID affected these because students had, for some students last year, that was their first year actually back in school full-time after COVID. So we take a look at this. The school is in blue. We had 233 students take the exam last year, 82% reached mastery, which is absolutely phenomenal. So I'm very, very proud of them. And we too have been tasked with the investigations. All right, these were released on October 13th by the New York State Department of Education. These are the 4 investigations that we are diligently working on. All our professional development this year has been really focused on this, trying to put this together. Structure all mixed up is a 7th grade investigation. Cool-It is another 7th grade investigation. Weather and Climate is an 8th grade investigation, and It's Alive is a 6th grade investigation. So next year in September, our 8th graders, because they need to take this for the test, they will be doing one of these a quarter. And then it will trickle down as the years go on.
Moving on to the high school, just to highlight some things from the class of 2022. So New York State graduation requirement, Herrick's local requirement is 3 credits in science, and one of those has to be a Regents science class. Usually it's living environment or earth science. 79% of the graduating class last year had 4 or more credits in science. 82% of the seniors had 3.5 or more credits in science. And 60% of the senior class had taken at least 1 AP science class. 53 students took 3 AP science classes, and 2 students took 4 AP science classes. Something to think about. Those kids worked really hard in how they do it. So to highlight some of the information about the high school, this is the current flow chart. Questions have been raised about how students move through. And so if a student is currently in 8th grade science, they'll take earth science or living environment in 9th grade. They'll take earth science or living environment, whichever they haven't taken in 10th grade. In 11th grade, they have 3 different choices for chemistry, Regents, honors, or conceptual. And then in 12th grade, they have multiple choices for Regents physics, conceptual physics, AP Physics 1, AP Biology, and AP Environmental Science. And at any time after 10th grade, if students choose to do so, they can double up in science and take a Regents course and an elective, and we'll talk about the elective program. So no matter where a student starts at the middle school, they still can finish with 1 or more AP science courses. Students currently in 8th grade for science, they will take living environment, either Regents or honors in 9th grade, chemistry, whether Regents or honors or conceptual in 10th grade, moving on to physics in 11th grade, and then in 12th grade taking any component of the 7 AP science courses that we offer. So AP Physics 1 can be taken in 11th grade. In 12th grade, there's biology, there's chemistry, there's environmental science, there's physics 2, there's physics C mechanics, and then there's physics C electricity and magnetism, which is the hardest of them all. And students, again, in 10th grade, as long as they're taking chemistry, do have the option to double up in science, whether that's to take chemistry and physics in the same year or to begin an elective program. This is the Science Regents results over the last number of years from 2018 to 2022. You'll notice that there are years missing because of no data, because students weren't tested. In 2020, there were no exams for anything. In 2021, Regents, Earth Science, and the Living Environment exams were offered, but it was voluntary. Students did not have to take it. And so that results were sort of skewed in that. The Earth Science results on this chart, by the way, are a component of middle school and high school Earth Science. And you'll notice the chemistry results a little bit lower, but still very good. Physics results did change. And one of the reasons for that, sort of a bit of a perfect storm, but the students taking physics actually had not taken a Regents exam in high school. If they were accelerated students in the middle school, they came in doing living environment and chemistry and actually didn't take a Regents exam at all in high school. Regents highlights, I think it's important to take a look at the fact that among our comparators, we test and teach a great number of students that our comparators do not. And so in terms of physics, we'll notice we're ranked second among our comparators. One thing I learned as I was going through and calling our comparators, many other schools allow seniors to not take physics Regents because it's not required for graduation. And it has a tendency to be the last exam. It also has a tendency to be on the same day as the prom and or graduation. So that's a deciding factor. Among Earth Science, we rank fourth, and that's middle school and high school numbers together. In chemistry, we're third, test over 300 kids. Our numbers are consistent, by the way, year to year. And among living environment, we usually test over 300 students. We're ranked fourth this year. Sometimes we've been ranked second. And that's really a component of whether schools are self-accelerating kids in living environment or Earth Science in 8th grade. Looking at the AP results from last May, we also tested a good number of students. Our scores in many of the areas came above New York State and above the global, and our number percentage of threes was pretty significant in many of the areas. Looking at the number of AP students that we tested, the 2022 versions are not, those numbers are not really released amongst our comparators, but it is significant to go back to 2021. So when we're in the midst of COVID, other than one exam with Physics 2, which is not a very well-populated exam internationally, we're ranking in the top 4 or 5 of our comparators in terms of the number of students that we enroll in our AP courses and test. Not all our comparator schools require students to take the AP exam. They can sit in the course, but they don't necessarily have to take the exam. That's a requirement at Herrick's. And so our students do extraordinarily well. Our elective program that I mentioned before, astronomy, forensics, human systems, medical technology, and this year we've introduced for the coming school year, genetics and neuroscience. We put it out there just to see what student interest would be like, and it's been overwhelming for both of them. We have 6 sections of neuroscience running next year as a new course, which is great. And the extracurricular program at Herrick's is a great support to the science program as well. So this is just these are at least 10 clubs that support the science program, and many of our students are involved in many of these different activities. And I will say we are one of the schools in Nassau County that offer 3 opportunities to be on the Science Olympiad team. Not a lot of schools field 3 full teams, and we do. And each of the teams wins medals. This year we came 1 point shy of going to the States. So for one of our teams, they did a great job. And then the research program, the board is very familiar with the research students because they're here on a regular basis. But it is a 4-year program. It is open, and all 8th graders are welcome to join the program. They talk to their teachers about it. They're introduced to it. But the students participate in high-level science fairs and competitions. Some of them local. Like 2 weekends ago, the kids were at the Research Association Science Fair, which is invitational. It's 11 of our comparators, and Herrick's was a founding member of that fair, but they also are participating in Long Island Science and Engineering Fair, the New York State Science and Engineering Fair, and the Regeneron competition as being one of the highest ones. Students just were competing 2 weeks ago at Long Island Science Congress. Those results are not out, but that gets the students to the State Science Fair, and that's usually the first week in June. We have had, for many, many years now, kids participate in the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair, and wherever that happens to be located. Our students have done very well in that fair, including last year. This year, we had 3 Intel semifinalists. We average anywhere from 2 to 5 Intel semifinalists over the last 17 or 18 years at Herrick's. So there's been a huge number of increase in the research program interest as well as the success of those students. And one thing that does not get promoted quite often that I do want to highlight is Many of our juniors and seniors are out doing work in their labs. They're not doing in-house projects. And that work is being published in journals. They are authors and co-authors on papers that are being published in journals. And they're able to put that on their college applications and they continue that work as they move into college. So it's really significant. This Etri, our science research teacher, last year started a program where alumni out of the research program come in on Google Meets and talk to our current research students about the research they are now doing in their graduate and postgraduate careers. Not just in medicine, in all careers. And so she's really giving kids an opportunity to see multiple career paths for science research. And then moving forward, I think one thing to talk about is that all of us, Diana and I, put out a survey for all the students in the district, grades 4 through 12, and it was 8 significant questions that were correlated to how they felt about their experiences in science, how they felt about the communication among their science teachers, but more significantly, did they feel that their teachers were engaging them, applying skills to the outside world, being able to bring other subject areas into their science classroom, and did they feel that they were actually being asked to think as a scientist? And overwhelmingly, the results were incredibly positive. Our sample among parents was a little bit smaller, but again, same questions regarding their students' grades 4 through 12. And the parents gave similar feedback to the students. So it was really encouraging. So moving forward, things that the board should be able to consider. We are going to be moving to a successful transition to the science learning standards as they're finalized and introduced. So Diana talked about many of the things that are happening on the middle school level. Diana talked about the investigations happening at the elementary level. The state has not formalized that for Regents exam yet. So we do not know how they will be introducing any kind of hands-on performance assessments. We expect them to come. So as the assessments are finalized and introduced over the next 2 years, that's something we need to focus on. Along with that, that will encourage us to move towards the adoption of new materials that are going to better align with the curriculum we have, as well as changing assessment strategies. That's going to require continued professional development for our teachers as we move forward with the new standards. And it's going to really take a look at the vertical alignment of the standards K through 12, because as I said, the new standards are spiraled through from grades pre-K through 12th grade. So it's time for us to start looking at how we are spiraling things through. And then a long-term goal, I'll quote it because it's a good quote. Despite the upcoming changes over the next few years, we'll be focusing upon performance assessments and shared activities to build engagement and an experiential journey for all of our students.
Thank you. Thank you, Diana. Yeah. That was pretty impressive. Really was. Oh, I thought you were going to collect our claims. Oh, free of charge. Thank you.
Please be seated.
Dr. Sinaz,
Do you all have any questions for our science experts before they go?
Brian?
You're just gonna sum it up in one more. I always thought it was. We always see the results that we generate and the research programs. But now you see the foundation and you see the alignment well, and it doesn't surprise me. Okay. Impressive. Vertical to-
That is incredible.
Henry?
Yeah, very impressive. A couple of comments, sort of questions. One is that looking at the elementary program, it struck me that it's almost like Gemini has filtered down into all the grades in a way, with some of the things that they do that resemble what my kids experienced when they were Gemini. Do you feel that? Do you think that's accurate?
We had a curriculum for all K to 5.
Right. Yeah. Okay, well, it shows in your presentation, so,
Some of those activities I mentioned are actually from the union section.
yeah, glad for that. I have a curiosity question about the high school course sequencing. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I seem to remember kids taking like chemistry AP in 10th grade. Is that still a possibility, or did that ever happen, or am I confusing
According to the
myself?
college board, in order to take AP chemistry, you have to be fun early or have taken physics.
always been that way?
It's always been that way.
Okay,
It's always been
okay.
that way, too.
That's what I think. It's curious. My daughter takes a lot.
My classes happen now this year. It's capital at prayer, capital at prayer.
Anyhow, very, very good presentation. You guys did a great job. Yeah.
I'm always impressed with these curriculum reviews, because every time you think you kind of have an understanding of what's going on with your children in the classrooms, or when they've gone through, and then you come and you're like, oh my God, it's different. Every time it's different. We're forever changing. And I think that evolutionary process that we do with our departments, and then the chairs coming to give us this update, it's constantly a way that you just always blow us out the water. And I can tell you our families are so appreciative of this constant change and continuous improvement that you all do and you all take to heart for all our kids. So thank you very much. It's really impressive. Thank you. Okay. Dr. Sinanis?
Yeah, thank you all very much for that overview. It's incredibly engaging.
And we have a rose
And we
ceremony.
have- Thank you.
Thank you again.
Maybe a science experiment.
Okay. We're going to move to the business portion, the continued business portion of the meeting. We're going to move to Roman numeral 9A. Henry, can you move it to, as it's presented on the agenda, please?
I move item A, Society Tax Anticipation Note Resolution of Heritage Union Free School District, New York, adopted May 4, 2023, authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $12 million tax anticipation notes in anticipation of the receipt of taxes to be levied for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024.
Okay. We're going to, the second is going to go by a roll call vote. So, Lisa, do you want to give us a little explanation of what the TANs are for those in the audience who are familiar?
Sure, yeah. So those that own a home in Nassau, we pay taxes twice, our school taxes twice a year. And basically the TAN is a short-term borrowing because we usually get our first tranche of taxes around November time, and then the second is starting to come around May. So really, this is a short-term borrowing just to fill in those gaps, and we borrow usually around September time when we're just about to get our first tranche, and then we return the funds by the end of June. So it really is just to fill in the gaps while we're meeting our cash flow needs.
I'm going to call the second by member. Brian?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yeah.
And I'm going to be yes. Henry doesn't have to vote again since he moved it, right? Okay. So, that's approved unanimously. Brian, you want to move B, please?
Yeah, I'd like to move Roman numeral B in its entirety, approval to declare emergency and provide funding for the replacement of the district firewall for the IT system.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Can I just comment that this has been part of the cause of some slowdowns and stuff in the schools with the Wi-Fi. So that's why it's an emergency.
Nancy, can you read C as it's presented, please?
Setting of the reorg meeting for the district for the 2023-2024. Be resolved that the annual reorg meeting for the district will be held on July 1st, 2023, according to the requirements of employment section 7.
Have a second, please? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're going to move D, please. Henry, can you move D?
D is approval of memorandum of agreement between the Herrick's UFSD and the Herrick's Association of Administrators and Supervisors Incorporated, HAAS. Following resolution prepared for board's consideration, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools and Board of Education, hereby approve the following resolution. Whereas the District Association of parties to a collective bargaining agreement dated July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, agree that there is a community of interest between the Director for Science and Technology position and the positions already represented by the association. Whereas the parties agreed the position of Director for Science and Technology should be accreted into the association. Therefore, it's be a further result, the Board of Education herewith approves the MOA here and above reference. Be a further result, Superintendent of Schools is hereby authorized to execute the memorandum of agreement on behalf of the Board of Education.
I have a second that?
About this motion, if you don't mind, for so about resolution D, that is the creation of the Director for Science and Technology position, which probably should have talked about earlier because the person being appointed to that position is Karen Hughes, who was just here doing the presentation for us because as Diane McCabe is retired, the plan was to have the positions sort of one consumed by the other to become the K-12 Director for Science and Technology. So Karen was effectively appointed to that position tonight.
We congratulate her and thank her.
Effective July 1st, yes.
We congratulate her and thank her. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We're going to move E, and we're going to stop right after we put the motion together. Okay, so Nancy, I'm going to let you move letter E, please. You can read it, please. Yeah.
Approval memorandum of agreement between Heritage UFSD and the Heritage. Following resolution has been prepared for consideration. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the school Board of Education, hereby the following resolution. Whereas the July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2020 labor agreement between the Heritage Union Free School District and the Heritage Association expires on June 30th, 2023. Whereas representatives of the respective parties have engaged in negotiations for a successor agreement to the expired labor agreement. And whereas the representatives of the district and the union reached an agreement that has been memorialized in a memorandum of agreement dated April 26, 2023, memorandum of agreement has been reviewed by the Board of Education. And whereas the membership of the Heritage Season Association has ratified said memorandum of agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education herewith approves the memorandum of agreement herein above reference, authorizes the expenditure of funds necessary to implement said memorandum of agreement. And be it further resolved that the Board President be authorized to execute the new collective bargaining agreement incorporating the terms of the memorandum of agreement on behalf of the Board of Education.
Can I have a second, please?
I second.
Okay, Dr. Sinanis?
Yes, thank you, Jim. So this is resolution to allow us to effectively or to approve a new MOA with with the HTA specifically for the teachers. So we've been in negotiations for the last several months, and recently we made a little adjustment to our negotiation process slightly to address some of the lingering issues. And thanks to the support of the board and to our team, both Dina and Lisa, who were part of our negotiation team, we got to a place where we were able to make an offer to the teachers as an agreement. And we are excited tonight to share that resolution and recommendation with you based on the approval from our HTA.
I just want to publicly acknowledge the hard work by the HTA president, vice president, and the negotiating team for meeting us, understanding concerns and issues that the district is facing, and recognizing how much we appreciate the hard work that they do every day in our classrooms and what they do for all our students. Without your dedication and your team's dedication, our district would not be as it is. So we thank you, and I personally want to thank you for being able to come to some sort of fair, what we all deem to be a fair agreement moving forward. And I personally want to thank you as well. So I'm going to call the vote and then sign the document, Lisa. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Oh, I didn't sign it. I didn't need to. I'll sign the final one. Okay, so I want to allow the president of the HTA to say a few words, if she can, please. On this?
after past struggles, living through a pandemic, and the many changes brought on by COVID, we are thrilled to reach this milestone. We have always had many common goals and kept our students at the forefront of all our decisions. Even through the difficult times, we persevered and exhibited professionalism and look forward, never back. We especially want to thank the board and the superintendent for working with us to achieve this mutual goal. We see today as a welcome road to many future successes. Working together, we can achieve so much. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move F through U, please.
I'll move after you, approval of appointments, agreements, amendment, results of school reference survey, bids, insurance, contracts, BOCES letters of agreement, BOCES cross contracts, and acceptance of the grant.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Brian, want to move V through W, please? V and W, please?
I'd like to move B and W, approval of trips of high school mathlete students to attend the American Regions Mathematics League, and approval of trip for high school and middle school students to compete in History Days national competition.
I second.
I knew that would be you. All in favor? Any opposed? Henry, you want to move X, please?
Acceptance, I'd like to move X, acceptance of donation for the New York Schools Insurance Reciprocal. Following resolution to prepare for board's consideration that upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby accepts a monetary donation in the amount of $1,000 from New York Schools Insurance Reciprocal. 333 Earl Lovington Boulevard, Suite 905, Uniondale, New York, 11553, to be used towards the water filtration system.
Can I have a second, please? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, nice sir.
We're going to move Roman numeral 12. Again, questions or comments from the public. Since no one has entered the room since the last time I read the disclaimer, the same considerations apply. Are there any questions or comments from the public at this time? Seeing none, we're going to move to new business and future agenda items. Any member of the board have any at this time? Okay. We're going to call our future business meetings are held usually at 7:30 unless otherwise noted. On May 16th, Tuesday, the budget vote takes place here at the community center from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. On May 18th, there will be another Board of Education meeting here at the community center. On June 8th, we will have a regular meeting and a recognition of retirees and student representatives. On July 1, Saturday at 10:30 a.m., the Board of Education will have its annual reorganization and regular meeting. August 10th will be the following meeting at the community center. It'll be a regular meeting where we set the tax levy. And August 24th at 6 p.m. at the community center will be a regular meeting. May I have a motion to close, please?
Motion to close.
Have a second?
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Good night, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.